Yesterday, the PlayStation 4 celebrated its 5th birthday, and as usual, I'm late to the party, but only with this video, as I was an early adapter of the console, having played numerous exclusives, wonderful in every way, for the last 5 years. Today, in celebration of the run that the PS4 has had thus far, I'd like to talk to you guys about 5 of my own favorite games exclusive to the platform. And no, Bloodborne is not there. I couldn't even get past the first level. What's up guys, this is Ramakrishnan. Today I'd like to discuss with you PlayStation 4 games and a look at my favorites thus far. The console has been praised greatly in its 5 years for exclusives. Whether it's a remaster of the PS3's best, a sequel to a PlayStation mainstay, or new exciting IP, this generation has seen how Sony can do wonders with their games. Instead of just ranking the many PS4 exclusives out there, or taking a look at them as a whole, I've decided to instead tackle my favorites, 5 to be exact. While some of the best games available exclusive to the PS4 are objectively better than others, I'd like to shed light on those that have left the greatest impact on me. This is all in my personal opinion and taste. Without further ado, here are my top 5 PS4 exclusives so far. One of the very first to be revealed PS4 exclusives, Infamous Second Son, released not a year into the console's life. With it came some of the best thrills I have had in a game that year. Infamous Second Son took the superpowers, moral choices, and open-world gameplay of its PlayStation 3 predecessors and upped the ante in every way possible, all for the better. Whereas Infamous was known for Cole McGrath's single power or two, the new protagonist, who I found to be quite likable, Delsin Rowe, was granted 4. Delsin's abilities to whip across the city in beautiful neon and slam enemies down from hundreds of feet above with concrete made every minute joyous. Collecting the numerous blast shards, racing from checkpoint to checkpoint, and killing every secret DUP agent made for an absolute blast, no pun intended. I recognize the flaws of a mildly repetitive gameplay loop after a while, as well as a story with some mild low points. However, with all of the abilities to upgrade and the absolutely amazing powers alone, Infamous Second Son is a joy to play. Whether I was shooting for the feasible yet oh so enjoyable 100% and platinum completion, experiencing the beautiful Seattle through the lens of an evil Delsin Rowe, or proving my worth as an epic Marvel Studios worthy superhero. The experiences that I had with Infamous Second Son are some I won't soon forget.
You are not in control.
While the 2016 film of the same name exists to the memory of few, the number 4 spot on this list is a game that proved to be one of PS4's finest exclusives, and that is of course Ratchet & Clank.
Along with his robot pal Clank, we were the perfect team. Till he had to go and save Metropolis and get all famous.
Sadly, however, I felt and continuously feel that the action platformer doesn't get nearly enough attention. I believe it to be one of the finest on the console. Ratchet & Clank took the formula of a fantastic series born on the PlayStation 2 and made it fresher and more delightful than ever. Often argued on whether it's a reboot or a remake, Ratchet & Clank, or Ratchet & Clank 2016, is more of a reimagining than anything, and a damn good one at that. The title, for starters, looks fantastic.
This is the story of a Lombax named Ratchet and his robot friend Clank, and the muscular, irresistibly handsome hero who helped them save the galaxy.
Whether it is the bright, lustrous locations of the galaxy surrounding, or just the fur on the Lombat himself, Ratchet & Clank is an undeniably pretty game. More importantly though, is the excellent shooting and platforming of the title. Ratchet & Clank has a wide, but not too large, array of guns and weapons of all sorts.
Let's try this baby out.
the gunplay always felt great, offering some delightful, hilarious, and action-packed results from the crazy but lovable arsenal. Ratchet Clank is a textbook example of sheer fun. For every time I turned an enemy into a sheep or made them dance for the hell of it, sometimes consecutively, I had a big smile on my face. The game's easygoing story is packed with a whole lot of charm, and it resulted in some of the greatest joy a game has given me in this console generation.
Are you ready to be a Galactic Ranger? We want you!
Few franchises live up to the widely received legacy of exclusives that is PlayStation's like Uncharted.
You've been out of the game for a long time. Or maybe I need to remind you the kind of people we'd be crossing here.
Thanks to a little-known developer called Naughty Dog, Nathan Drake, Victor Sullivan, and Elena Fisher are household names. Of all the titles in the critically acclaimed behemoth of a series, I'd argue that Uncharted 4: A Thief's End does the best with its cast. Uncharted: Drake's Fortune, Uncharted 2: Among Thieves, and Uncharted 3: Drake's Deception, all built up to be a definitive trilogy on the PlayStation 3. Shout out to Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection on the PlayStation 4. As a result, the compelling narrative about Drake's latter years of his ventures and his relationships with his familiar and also new characters alike was all the better.
There's gotta be another way. I need you on this one.
Nathan Drake continued to be one of gaming's best characters in Uncharted 4. The game told an excellent story, one that challenged him and his family life in so many compelling ways.
If you're done lying to me, then you should stop lying to yourself.
I was interested from start to finish, and the same can be said for every other aspect of this game, which is truly a masterpiece. The game's graphics impressively made characters look practically real. Everything from the lighting and shadows to the environment in general and the attention to detail in it all made Uncharted 4 a technical masterpiece. And playing it just felt excellent. Even if it felt a little long at one point or another, Uncharted 4's gameplay is some of the most refined it has ever been, mechanically feeling so very right. With every headshot, risky jump, and explosive epic set piece, Uncharted 4 did what its predecessors had done, but in ways above the already high expectations. Between the charming, well-written characters, interesting dynamic narratives, and beautiful open-ended environments, coupled with the likes of some of the finest action-packed and endlessly fun gameplay and combat, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is easily one of the best games available on the platform and an instant favorite of mine.
Hey, here, take the wheel. What? Be out of your goddamn mind? Yep, probably. Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, crap.
Swinging its way to the second spot on this list is Marvel's Spider-Man.
Knowing everything hinges on a guy from Queens sounds as scary as it feels. No pressure, right?
A game that truly feels amazing every time I fire it up. Insomniac Games seemed to have done the impossible this year by creating a Spider-Man game on the level of this generation's greatest AAA titles, using the license to full effect. Spider-Man's gameplay is some of the most fun I've ever had in a video game. I found myself wanting to go back to Spider-Man every day, if only to just swing around the city. The incredible attention to detail in that city made the open world a joy to swing around, collecting backpacks, taking pictures, and just knocking thugs out. The game truly creates a feeling of being Spider-Man like never before.
Is there anyone left in New York who doesn't want me dead?
In that wonderfully realized New York City, Spider-Man can swing around naturally, and he fights enemies in a fast, fluid, and ever so exhilarating manner. I found myself immersed in the combat that allowed me to shoot tons of unique web-related gadgets, chaining combos, jumping over the enemies, and throwing them around. Spider-Man's combat took cues from the Batman Arkham series, yet I, in many ways, thought that it did even better thanks to the whole fluidity and natural feel of it all. Alongside the beautiful city of New York and some of the most fun and addicting gameplay ever, Spider-Man also came with an awesome story.
Your city and everything you care about will be destroyed. People will beg you for help, but you won't be able to save them.
Seeing everyone from Kingpin to Vulture, Spider-Man included some of the most famous villains, yet also gave us unfamiliar faces, most of which resulted in some great boss fights as well.
You okay?
Yeah.
Welcome to the party! Just in time for the fireworks!
the story surrounding them, and some serious issues in the city made for a very fun to follow and interesting story. The narrative is well written, giving depth to characters like Mary Jane, Miles Morales, and of course Peter Parker. And I think any good Spider-Man story tells a great one of duality between Peter and Spider-Man. Insomniac Games nails that too, making every moment outside of the epic Spider-Man gameplay one of depth, thanks to the interesting and very real character that Peter himself is. Despite a few flaws here and there, I truly found Spider-Man to be one of the most addicting, fun, and well-written superhero stories of our time, and a must-play PS4 game for anyone.
Look, next time, leave the fighting to the pros. Okay, but what if there aren't any around? Good one.
Taking the top spot on my list of the PS4 exclusives that have stuck with me and created my personal favorite moments is one that needs no introduction.
Find your way home. You are free.
Widely received as one of the best games on the console of the generation, and even in some instances of all time, God of War deserves every bit of praise it has received and will continue to receive. Releasing in the same year as Spider-Man and even Detroit Become Human, PS4's 2018 is certainly one for the books. But God of War did things so right that I found it to be nearly perfect in so many ways.
We need your help!
This is no ordinary illness. The boy's true nature, your true nature, fights within him.
I personally went into the reboot-styled sequel with very high hopes, yet some concern altogether. Never did I fear it wouldn't be good by any means, but this new approach to the macho hack-and-slash world of Greek mythology was quite a change. Fortunately, the game drew me in far more than its predecessors ever could. Quickly too. The opening moments compelled me, with Kratos being a father of a child unfamiliar with the life of the past. By the time the fight with the stranger, as he is first known, I knew I was in for one hell of a ride. Constantly being blown away by every bit of God of War. It became a classic for all the right reasons. While I was a big fan of the epic gods of the Greek world, it turned out the epic troll ogre and dare I say Valkyrie fights were just as awesome, if not more. And they were more fun to take care of as well. Sony Santa Monica's new approach to combat and gameplay as a whole made God of War so much more impressive and better than that of the past. Using red orbs to upgrade weapons in God of War 3 was great, but choosing my own armor sets, altering them with special abilities to my liking, all to murder enemies more violently than ever, that was priceless. As was the greatest game weapon of all time, the Leviathan.
Again.
You want to talk about satisfying, often compared to Thor and his hammer, Mjolnir. Kratos' throwing and instant recollecting of his axe was the most amazing feeling in gaming this year. And using the Leviathan and Kratos' burly fists in combat played out in a better way than ever before attained in a God of War game. I truly could not have been happier with the deep, forward-thinking, and brutal combat of God of War. Combat that was always exhilarating. And none of this so far even mentions the story.
So I'm a man now. Like you?
No. We are not men. We are more than that. The responsibility is far greater.
One of which has more complexity, emotion, and quality than anything the franchise has ever tackled. God of War's narrative includes incredibly well-acted and written characters that held special places in my heart the entire way through. The narrative about Kratos and his son, and all of the characters that they stumble upon across their very interesting and emotional journey, all create one of the most amazing stories in modern gaming. I genuinely loved everything that the story had to offer, and the narrative payoff, alongside the epic, moment-to-moment, challenging, and rewarding gameplay, made God of War a true masterpiece for the ages.
Wow, that was something, that fight.
Those are the 5 PlayStation 4 exclusives that I love the most. Those titles all brought me some unmatched pleasure across the console's 5 years on the market so far. I adore Sony's push for single-player experiences and high-quality first-party games in general. These titles represent some of my favorite things that they do and some of the best things that I've experienced in gaming. Of course, these are just my opinions after all. My list doesn't include heavy hitters like Horizon Zero Dawn or Bloodborne, and I'm sure many of yours will look past the likes of Infamous Second Son or Ratchet & Clank. As a result, I'd like to hear all your thoughts. So be sure to leave me your own top 5 list of your favorite PlayStation 4 exclusives in the comments below. And with that being said, I'm Ryan Ramakrishnan. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. And of course, happy 5th birthday PS4. Here's to many more years of exclusives on the best place to play games.